Rwanda has shut down over 5,500 churches for not complying with the new regulation. Yes, in 2018, Rwanda passed a law to follow regulations. Before you have the church had to pass through checks of infrastructure, of hygiene, of safety. In addition, all leaders of churches must be qualified, meaning they must have a degree in theology. Yeah, that's what it is in Rwanda, fellas. What's up, everybody? I hope you're doing good. It's a beautiful day. I'm a little bit fluid and fluish, feeling kind of funny today, but I know by the end of this video, I feel really good because I love you very much. Thank you very much for stopping here. Your first time, please click on subscribe. If you come here, watch this video, please click on subscribe because YouTube says you watch the video, but you don't subscribe. Let's push this channel together. Okay, so we are in Rwanda. Here's Rwanda. It's a small country in Africa, but not so small when it comes to here. Okay, so the president of Rwanda with his lawmakers have pushed a new law and they're implementing the measures. So basically, more than 5,500 churches have been shut. Yeah, I know Africans love churches very, very, very much. From the 1990s, a lot of Christian churches, all these versions of churches came along. Churches are good, but you know what I'm talking about. If you don't know what's happened in Africa with churches, look at this. Okay, so that's happened day and night, every single day. You could find some avenues, some road that has at least 25 different churches. Yeah, especially in Central Africa. 25 different minuscule churches in one road. And sometimes you ask yourself a question, are you praying the same God? Are you all Christian churches? If you're praying the same God, why don't you come together and pray the same God? Just come together and pray the same God. Oh, they can't do that because each pastor and each congregation supposedly have their own vision of God. It's not God's vision, it's the pastor's vision. So your vision and my vision don't go together, so we cannot participate. How do you progress? And in some places you see there are more churches than there are schools, more churches than hospitals, more churches than education facilities, which rendering people more and more not very nice, many people believe. So the Rwandese government has decided otherwise. Now, churches have to follow regulations. Number one, they have to pass check of infrastructure. The infrastructure has to look good. A church can't look like this. The hygiene, meaning some churches you go to, there aren't toilets. So basically, people have to go everywhere to do something that's supposed to be very private and clean. All churches must meet safety requirements. And in addition, so the big one is all the leaders of churches must have a degree in theology. Yeah. Now let me explain to you. In Africa, somebody can wake up on a Monday and say, okay, he had a dream at night and he's opening a church and he's going to be the pastor. Yeah. And all of a sudden, 1 and 2 and 3 and 10 and 20 and 100 people come. See? And he becomes a pastor, sometimes a prophet. And the prophet, from what you understand, means he can look at you and say, hey, God showed me at night that your future is not in your family. You need to leave your family and go far away, go and progress. Or else you're going to die or your goals are not going to get achieved because there's somebody in your family that's destroying your future. Yeah, people do that. So yes, that happens very, very much in many places in Africa. Let's nobody lie to you. There's a country, I witnessed that myself, where a pastor said to his congregation, if your father doesn't like your God, you should kick him out. If your old mother doesn't come to your church or refuse to come to your church, you must throw him out. And they give you a verse that support that idea, saying that there's this guy in the Bible that says, me and my family will follow God. So if you don't follow my God, you must get out of. Many people threw their parents out of the house. Many people threw their mothers out of the house, calling them witches and stuff. And you know what happened later on? Later on, we found out that that preacher has never had a childhood with her parents. Yes, the preacher never had a decent childhood with the parents because that was the situation. She was abandoned by the parents. She was mistreated by the parents. Now, that's very simple to understand. If you grew up in a situation where you and your parents never really got along and you get a platform where you can speak to people, what are you going to say? There's a possibility that you may be healed of your wounds and say, okay, love your parents, be fine. There's also a possibility that you still bear those wounds of childhood, saying if your parents don't follow your way, kick them out, make them suffer. Don't be in the servitude of other people. Servitude just means don't help your siblings, don't help your parents, don't give them, you're not their domestic worker. Your priority is you. That is what people preach. Now, the Rwandan government wants people who are going to talk to other people to be intellectually equipped. You can't just get people out of the blue coming from a village and all of a sudden with these based on what they have in their IQ. So your IQ plays a major role on how you distribute information. Now, when you're talking to some people that are just vases, just waiting to hear you talk because they believe you have higher power from God, you can make them do anything. That's not going to be accepted anymore. 6,000 churches have been shut down in Rwanda. You need to follow regulations. There are some countries where, in Africa, when they are in church, they play music very, very loud. The law in Rwanda also says churches have to regulate their level of noise. Because many churches in Africa, if you've never experienced that, I hope you do. Many churches in most Africa, you will find people playing music. They will start from 7 p.m. and go till 5 o'clock in the morning. And these churches are not isolated. The churches are in urban areas where houses are. They will play music extremely loud. At 2 o'clock in the morning, they have speakers outside. And you cannot sleep. They go to the church and say, I can't sleep, please switch the music off. Or I cannot sleep, please, reduce the sound. They're going to call you your names. You are guided by the devil. You are inspired by Satan himself. They're going to make a prayer for you. You the devil. How come you don't like Jesus' music? That's what they do. Forgetting that you must respect other people's freedom. Because your freedom ends where the next person's freedom begins. Yes, you have the freedom to pray to God. But you should also give the next person freedom to have rest. Maybe he's sick. Yes, if you want to pray for him, you don't need to scream for God to hear you. Do you need to scream? Is God deaf? No, he's not. He doesn't need all the noise. That's what I'm saying. I mean, you've been to white churches and black churches. You see the level of noise in mostly Africa. It's insane. Now, somebody here to come and bring order. And this is what it is. Pastors have to have qualification, theology. You need to know what you're talking about. You can't just come and, out of your blue, you felt angry in the morning, you start pushing people out of anger. You must chase people out of your house. You must not do this. You must give to God. And also, the other law that they come up with is, from now on, people have to pay. If you want to donate to the church, it has to go straight to the church bank account. You will not donate to the pastor or the leader money in the hand. Because according to them, many people are being scammed. Many of the preachers are enriching themselves, whilst the preachees and the believers are not moving in life. It's like you see the preachers in big cars, expensive shoes, traveling in jet private. Meanwhile, the preachees and the congregation is still suffering out of 15 years of prayers. And again, don't get me wrong, we're not saying all churches are bad. No, there are some good churches. But we also do believe that God is a God of order, not disorder. So they've closed many churches. Institutions to be closed have inadequate infrastructure. So if your infrastructure is not good enough, there's no safe way running out in case there's an emergency or fire break, your church is going to be closed. Poor hygiene. If your toilets are not nice enough, there is not enough room to breathe, you don't have a proper building, church will be closed. Safety standards. So your church must have fire extinguisher in case fire breaks out. In most churches, they will say to you, no, there will not be fire because Jesus will protect you. Really? We've seen accidents happening in churches in Nigeria. I'm not going to show you the image, you know what I'm talking about, where people were unalived. So there must be a level of protection. As much as we pray to God, there must be a level of physical, rational thinking. Again, the new law requires pastors to have a theology degree before they can start their own churches. Is that a bad thing? You'll hear a lot of people say to you, well, sometimes God can use anybody. You don't necessarily have a theology degree. Okay, but then in the same token, how do we know this person is being used by God? Or it's not just a psychopath or a thug just trying to do his own things and coming in the name of God and looking good and talking God. We've seen many psychopaths unaliving other people. We saw that in Kenya, right? There was a guy, Mackenzie dude in Kenya, who used to be a taxi driver. He turned pastor, opened the church. Then later on told the people in the congregation that they have to go to paradise. And you know how you go to paradise. They did that to themselves. I know you may say that people with rational thinking cannot do such thing. Let me tell you something. When you believe firmly that the person speaking to you is speaking in the name of God, you lose every rational that you have. The inspection focuses on verifying that the denomination and prayer houses have registration documents issued by RGB, letter of collaboration from the district. So before you open a church, you must have a document from RGB, then you must have a letter from the district. So your district must say, yes, we know that person, we agree, we want a church in our neighborhood. You can't just say, okay, I want to open a church. The neighborhood has to say they're okay with the noise that will come with the church and the Holy Spirit. And the prayer house must meet legal requirements, building code for their location. Under the new law, any financial support to a faith-based organization must be channeled through the organization bank account or bank institution. So they can track you. They can see who spent money where. And the pastor or whoever, the director, he cannot use people's money for his personal interest. It's the church's money, not the pastor's money. Let me know how you feel about this. Which country do you think deserve to have this law voted? Because my issue is this one. Africans believe so much in spirituality that even if you go to a parliament trying to vote such law, many people in the parliament will fight it because they believe that this is against God. They believe this is against God to a level where they actually believe you can make noise beyond the acceptable level because you're singing to Jesus. And you can open anything, even if the sanity, the sanitary, the security do not meet the requirement, they're still okay with it because they're scared to frustrate God. God bless.